Good evening. Good evening. Mandibulise kuni nonke. Let me greet you all. Wesley Gildas, the connection at large. Let me introduce myself briefly, starting with a short prayer so that God can carry us through the conversation. Lord God, we invite you this evening to carry us through this talk. This is not only a talk during a challenging time, this is a talk that comes through in a moment of need, in a moment of a plug, in a moment where everyone is stressed, in a moment where everyone is scattered all over. Some people are locked down. We are challenged. Everyone is indoors because you have allowed the plug to engulf us. Carry us through everything. We trust you. We invite your Holy Spirit so that we may be saved like you did in the generation of Moses and Aaron. We trust you, God. Carry us through, and may you give people ears, spiritual ears and physical ears, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Let me welcome you this evening, and I'm very grateful to the Wesley Gildas South Africa for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk to the SADC region. Fortunately, the people who invited me have actually outlined what I need to touch on. Briefly about myself, I am a medical doctor, Dr. Mtembeni Tebelele, born and bred in Mthatha, qualified in 97, so I've been a doctor for 20 years. Fortunately, in my career, as an all-rounder, I managed to do diploma in HIV, and then I did a diploma in life coaching, and I did MBA in leadership with the University of Liverpool, which is what makes me an all-rounder. And I'm very grateful to be given this opportunity to speak to all of you. Please allow me to blend tonight's session. The theme is very clear. I'll be speaking on health, wealth, and social during the challenging time of COVID-19. To speak about health, health is a state of complete wellness from head to toe. Complete wellness from head to toe. It means you are well physically, you are well mentally, you are well spiritually, you are well psychologically, in all sense. That is what health means. But as I say, I'm going to create or make my own stew of the themes that are given with your permission so that everyone can be able to grab a lesson or two. We are in a very challenging time in South Africa because we are attacked and engulfed by a bug called COVID-19. So it means health-wise, we've got a number of things that one can speak about. Firstly, if you put in one basket health, wealth, and social, then that is already representing a model which some of us actually were taught under in medical school, which is called the biopsychosocial model. Health is a very expensive commodity, and it means one needs to have money to buy health. You need money, and money can be a source of wellness, and at the same time it can be a source of illness. And health and money can actually have a bearing or a reflection on what is called social wellness. So there are a lot of social ills that can actually give you a bearing on health, and there are a lot of health issues that can actually have a bearing on health yomtu and the social wellness yomtu. Let's start with money. Like I said, I'm going to blend the themes the way I like them. Money affects well-being or your health in the following ways. You need to buy materials. You use money to buy materials because health is a service. For you to buy medicines, for you to buy professional help, you need money because health is more like goods. Especially if you are in South Africa, you will note that there is private health and there is public health. The public health facilities are congested and overwhelmed with everything. So it means some people get tired or end up defaulting in terms of getting health services from the public sector and end up opting for the private sector. But what determines your choice of sourcing health is how much money you have. There is a very big gap between rich and poor in South Africa. a lot of rich people, and the majority of people are poor and cannot access health services, and yet health is a basic need. So first of all, you need the kind of leaders you need in this era where we've got a health crisis. You need what we call situational leadership. Situational leadership, that is leaders who can adapt. You don't need leaders who can operate only with one gear. You need leaders who can actually study the situation that they're going to lead under. So if we're talking about cars, I would say you need somebody who can switch between manual or automatic, or someone who can switch between driving in a dry road or driving in mud. So you need the kind of leadership that can adjust to each situation, looking at the kind of people that you are leading, meaning you need a leader who's got personalities that are going to fit the moment so that we can be able to stay healthy. So you need to buy goods and services. You need to buy medicines. Most people are not on medical aid, so you need money. In a lockdown, it means most people are likely to lose their jobs. Some people are likely to lose even the source of income that they were deriving from selling some goods. That can actually indirectly affect their health, wellness, and well-being, because once there is no source of income, it means even if you get a script from a doctor or you have to go to a clinic, you need bus fare. You need bus fare. That is why money is the material, is the one that you need to buy material and services for your own health. So health is definitely negatively affected by plagues or situations like the one we are in, the COVID-19, meaning we need leaders or personalities who are going to understand the situation, like the church, that is going to meet the people halfway to avoid and prevent some of the social ills that may actually result, like we are going to navigate. The second thing is, once the source of income is dented and you cannot access health services or you cannot buy medicines for yourself, then psychosocial stressors will come through. Someone who has got low income, for instance, some people have actually had their salaries halved or even earning a quarter of what they were earning. Some people are actually in a standstill in terms of what they were earning, because everyone is indoors and actually masking, hand washing, and actually keeping a distance. It's only essential services that are working. So everyone's income is actually affected in one way or another. That is a source of stress. So it means money, there is no money, income is affected. So it affects your wellness psycho-socially, because there will be stress from loss of income. Once you are stressed from the loss of income or low income, you start developing hormones that actually govern stress. There are dangerous hormones that actually are a source of stress or that go with stress. Hormones called adrenaline, hormones called cortisol. Because of the low income, then your wife maybe is making noise here and your kids are making noise that side, needing this and that because they don't understand the situation, or your husband or your whoever partner is needing the resources and everything to keep life going, but you cannot cope as someone who used to provide. So psycho-socially, you immediately get affected because of the loss of income or the income that has been halved. So you start having sleepless nights. That affects your health negatively. You cannot sleep properly because your income is halved. And your libido, allow me to say, your libido will also definitely be affected, and that is a source of health also, because you won't be healthy, pembe wise, you won't be healthy psychologically, and your hormones will always be high, and you'll begin to feel tired all the time. And most people are likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, fatigue, and so on, from being locked indoors and having nothing to do. That is why we encourage people to use this time to exercise, at least to buy and utilize some hours effectively to at least do one thing to counter the hormones that are responsible for stress. Then in terms of your behavior, we spoke about material. Money affects your health, and then your health is affected. Your health will end up affecting you socially. So health, wealth, and social well-being is affected by the kind of situation that we're in. So we need leaders that are situationally orientated or able to adapt to the situation so that they can lead us out of the situation that we're in. In terms of behavior, once people have got low income, there's a high likelihood of an unhealthy behavior. So in terms of behavior, once income is dented, people are likely to spend a lot of time smoking, and people are going to spend a lot of time drinking or searching for alcohol because of frustration. They think that they're going to take away the stress and worries through drinking and smoking. And yet, they do not have enough money to spend on those things. Hence, it is actually good that smoking and drinking have actually been shut down so that the legal resources and money that people have left, they can spend it on necessary or much needed resources. And then you look at the situation in South Africa, we've got high income people and low income people. There's a very huge gap between high income people and low income people. The high income people can afford health, and they can afford the health style that they need. Some people cannot even afford to buy a skipping rope. Some people cannot afford even the kind of diet we recommend for good health, that is low GI bread, a loaf of low GI bread. Low GI bread is the kind of bread that you need to minimize starch that dissolves very quickly, because starch can be dangerous and toxic to our health, noting that we are dealing with diseases of lifestyle. Low GI bread, low carbohydrate, those are the things we buy first. Sugar, meal, rice, and so on. That is what we buy first as low income people. So money and wealth affect what we eat. We are eating junk food because we cannot afford some of these things. And then there is what is called reverse causation. Reverse causation in the sense that poor health can actually lead to social ills. And then you reverse it and say social ills can actually lead to poor health. This is clarified in the sense that someone who's sick and then you give that person a sick leave or you ask them to stay home. The sick leave can frustrate in the sense that while you are staying home, the employer may not recognize the sick leave and end up having your salary or not earning. Or if someone is self-employed and then is grounded by, for example, the COVID-19, you have to stay home for, say, 14 days without going to work. That begins to affect your income negatively, and it begins to frustrate you because you cannot bring the rents that you were bringing daily. So there is reverse causation, health, ill health leading to loss of income. And at the same time, initially we said loss of income can actually lead to ill health. So vice versa is also true, because an ill person is unlikely to be productive in a number of ways. Ill people are likely to be unproductive or less productive. For instance, if you've got shortness of breath, if you've got stress, and if you've got anything that is worrying you mentally, physically, and whatever, you are not well, then you are unlikely to be productive. Especially, it affects you more if you are self-employed. It's even better if you are employed by somebody else, because you can simply submit a sick certificate and look after your own health. Then if you look at the social ills leading to poor health, South Africa is engulfed by a situation of having the majority of the provinces are very poor in terms of housing, in terms of sanitation, and most areas are overcrowded. Overcrowded areas are likely to be sources of infectious diseases, and diseases there are likely to spread very fast. That is why we are worried, not only for TB spreading fast in congested or overcrowded areas, but COVID-19, where there is no running water and people are required to wash their hands and with water and soap, and malnutrition. People are not able to get the nutrients that they need, the supplements that they need, veggies and everything, to actually get high sources of vitamin C to be able to fight COVID-19. So it means, as a result of poor income and the social ills and the placement of our people wherever they are, they get ill because of the situation they are in. So it means malnutrition, poor sanitation, overcrowding, they are health hazards. And who is going to be affected most? It is poor people. So it means they are going to be unhealthy because of the situation they are in. But high income people may not feel an inch, but the poor ones, that is why I am very worried if COVID-19 was to get to the poor people where some of these things are not even visible. And once someone is stressed and is a breadwinner, then that actually unleashes a lot of other things. A stressed man, let's look at a husband and a wife, and the husband is not working or for some reason is locked down due to the COVID-19. The stresses may lead to a whole lot of other problems. That is why when I speak all over, I say do not expect a rise even in erections. Do not expect a rise and expect a lot of even premature ejaculations in this era, because a frustrated brain will actually lead to a frustrated mbembe. You must take it from me. There is no way you can get quality, good sexual health in this kind of environment, because people are eating junk food, people are frustrated, they're not getting income and so on. So you must understand and be patient with the situation and actually communicate, because things are not normal. Coming to you, in terms of leadership, I said we need leaders who are situationally orientated in terms of the leadership style. Situational leaders are leaders who are able to study the situation, study the kind of people they are serving, and then adjust gears accordingly. You need people who are well orientated in terms of what is COVID-19, what does it affect most, how does it spread, what do we need to do. So I'm very grateful to the Wesley Guilders in terms of adaptation. They have adapted already by making sure that we are able to speak to everyone through the platform that we're speaking to, because most innovations come through technology. Some churches or some congregations have been arrested because they were caught not ready. It means we need leaders who can actually see ahead. Thank you for your visionary leadership and actually for your technological advances and being ready for the situation that nobody knew. And even if you do not know or you didn't know that there was going to be COVID-19, but adjusting gears and adjusting the methods that were used previously to actually the new technology to allow church or praises and worship to go ahead, irrespective of being locked down. So this is very innovative to be able to speak to this platform. That is example of situational leadership. Thank you for being open-minded about it. And I said the kind of leaders you need in these situations must be intelligent. You need people who have got a little bit of high IQ to inspire confidence. A person with high IQ, a person who is open-minded. You can actually take a leap and look at what is called big five personalities, which is what make good leaders. They must be open-minded. Openness. Openness, it means these are people who are open to ideas. They are open to ideas irrespective of where the ideas come from. But good leaders learn even from the lowest of people. And you don't need people to be led by people who are neurotic. That is, people who can easily get depressed, or people who can easily get irritated, or people who can easily get angry, and so on. The situation that we're in need leaders who are calm, leaders who are agreeable, and leaders who can actually lead us with a calm demeanor. And then we need what is called extraversion. If you look at the big five personalities, you need extraverted leaders. That is, leaders who can mix with people, who can talk to people and engage people, and make sure that everyone has his or her buy-in so that we can win against the COVID virus. And if you look in the Bible now, since you guys are, are ingrained and disciplined in terms of reading the Bible, you look at the Bible, the first 5 books of the Bible, God had a leader for each specific moment and situation. And once the situation changes or needs another leader, God would change gears and introduce another leader, because we need situational leadership. Look at Moses. Moses led the Israelites up until a certain moment when he took God for granted. And then God removed him and actually started introducing Joshua. Joshua led the Israelites for up until a certain level, and then started introducing the kings. From the kings, then started introducing the judges. So, situational leader, each situation needs a certain type of leadership. If a leader cannot adapt to the situation or cannot read the situation well, or takes God for granted or the situation for granted, then that leader is removed. So that is why we need leaders who are engaged and current and updated in terms of what is happening, how do I handle what is happening, and then you start engaging and preparing people so that the situation can be defeated and actually we can overcome it. What else do I need to raise before I take your questions? Just one thing that I want to share also in terms of life expectancy. If you look at the gap in South Africa between the rich poor, the top 1% rich people, they've got higher life expectancy if you compare them with the bottom 1% of people. There's a gap of about 14 years. So it means having money, you are likely to buy yourself more health resources and more health services. And if you are poor, you are likely to be stranded and rely mostly on public health and resources that are actually scanty, congested, and so on. So money buys health. That is why South Africa is actually in a very good way forward in terms of introducing the policy that caters for it, which is called NHI, National Health Insurance Policy, which is meant to actually accommodate and make people access health services through all angles, unlike the current situation where health is actually more accessible, more attainable to people who have got more money. So it means wealth determines how healthy you are. That is why people are able to lift their breasts, because they've got money. They can do plastic surgery. If you've got a nose that was actually twisted in your childhood, if you've got money, you are likely to do plastic surgery and sort that out. But if you are poor, those are luxury items. You look at basic needs. Where can I get my sputum taken, tested for TB? Where can I get tested for HIV and so on? So you are bothered by basic things if you do not have money and resources. So the little money that we have, or the little money that we can collect as the poor people, we need to make sure that we spend it wisely, especially in this moment and era of our time. That is what I need to say. Social ills I've covered. Wealth, the importance of betting of wealth on health and health on wealth and social wellness. I think now I'm ready to take your questions. You can take me through any kind of question that you would love. I'm ready to answer you, noting that I've been a doctor for 20 years. I've done MBA leadership. I'm a certified life coach. So it means I'm an all-rounder. So you've got me. So you can start firing. I'm reading your comments. Any questions? Situational leadership, yes, is very relevant. Please advise men about Mpembe, about Mpembe health. It seems as if most South African men don't care of their Mpembe matters. This is a call upon, let me call upon all men. Let me call upon men, like the previous speaker has said, that Impembe zethu aziphilanga, our whistles are not healthy, especially black men. Let me call upon abefundisi ababukeleyo, all the ministers of the word, the leaders in various departments, of vice bethu, or president, and everyone who's actually watching. Let us make sure that we lead by example. Even if you've got a sermon that has got nothing to do with prostate, but it would be nice to hear a reverend saying, I did my prostate examination, Impembe yami healthy. Let us not wait for people to have blocked urines or have erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, because we know these things are happening. They are happening, but black men find it difficult to discuss these men And Paul puts it very clear in the Bible that if one part of the body suffers, then the whole body will actually suffer. It means if your mpembe is suffering, then your brain will suffer. A mpembe that is not working well will actually lead to stress and depression, deprivation, and starvation at home. That can actually lead to divorce and create holes even in marriage. So they say I must remind men to actually make sure that they prioritize a healthy mpembe, noting that in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, sex is a basic need. It's a basic need. It doesn't matter how much you can preach or how much you can be spiritual. When it comes to issues of physiology and basic needs, you need to serve your spouse like anybody else. So you need to be healthy. You just need to be healthy. That is why I even feel that doctors need to be paid far more than sport players. They need to be paid far more than abefundisi. They need to be paid far more than even ministers and presidents, because even presidents, we need to look after their mpempes and to make sure that they are healthy. And the only way of making sure that mpempes are healthy is to make sure that blood is running. Blood is running. Then someone who's not sexually frustrated, who's healthy and motivated, they will actually be able to give good sermons, and they will be able to lead even in every kind of situation. That is what is situational leadership. You don't need frustrated people to lead us at this moment, because this is a frustrating moment in our lives. Very, very frustrating. So you need leaders who are motivated. We need leaders who are ready to take us through this COVID-19 moment. So, gentlemen, I'm reminded to make sure that I remind you to keep our private parts as healthy as in. And if the mpembe is healthy, then it means the heart is also healthy. Thank you so much. Any other comment or question? Sex is a basic need, Neville. Yes, it's physiological. If you deny somebody sex, it's like denying someone a place to sleep when they need to sleep. You deny someone who's thirsty water, or you deny someone who needs shelter. And I know you guys, you've got DDSR, you're looking after shelter and all the social needs and ills. If you deny somebody shelter, that is in the same category, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So make sure you look after yourself, because once the body of Christ, any part, as members of the body of Christ, it means ningamalungu omzimba kaKristu. So if one of you suffers, it means one part of the body is suffering, then Christ is suffering. Let's look after the congregation in terms of members, then the body of Christ is healthy, then we'll be fine. Once the church is sorted and the leadership is sorted, then the social ills can be addressed. Any other question? Healthy heart, healthy sex. Any further questions or comments? And there's something that I learned in my leadership excursion, that delegation is a very important aspect of leadership, which is why if you look at the book of Exodus, when Moses was actually shouldering and doing everything by himself, Jethro visited him and actually advised him to start distributing some of the tasks to other men. You cannot handle everything as a leader. You need to be able to delegate and trust some people with some of these things. Even Jesus Christ himself, he used to send some of the people, go and do this, go and do that. You can't be everything to every situation. So you need to have a team of people that you are working with to actually be able to handle some of these situations. We've been told that people with underlying conditions are the ones who are likely to die. Yes, definitely. Let me see more of this. People with underlying conditions, that is true, and local, they are likely to die. For example, if someone has got hypertension, especially if that hypertension is poorly controlled, and you've got heart issues or heart problems pre-existing, or you've got diabetes that is poorly controlled, and you've got any other issue, this virus gets you, COVID-19 gets you with a pre-existing medical problem, then you are likely to have poor outcomes or to have a very worse form of the disease, because it found you in a very unhealthy state, because you need a very good immune system to fight the virus. There is no cure for the virus currently. There is no cure for the virus currently. All we rely on is your immune system to be working properly. You can drink all sorts of mixtures and so on, but there is no cure. You just need a very good immune system through a balanced diet. Eat leafy vegetables to make sure that your immune system is ready, and eat a lot of vitamin C. No mixtures and so on. And I want to discourage HIV positive people who are taking ARVs from taking a lot of garlic, because that can interfere with some of the ARV classes that people are taking. So you could be sorting or preventing yourself from COVID, and yet you are actually denting the management of HIV. And HIV is everywhere. The church is full of HIV positive people who are on ARVs, beautiful and handsome, but once they start messing up, then the virus can find them in a vulnerable state. So very important that you are raising people with pre-existing medical conditions. Make sure that you don't drink any concoction without the authority or authorization or discussion with your health professional, to make sure that you keep your immune system ready to fight COVID-19. And men, this virus has been found to be getting through our bodies through what is called ACE2 receptors. ACE2 receptors are much more in the lungs, in the heart, in the GIT, that is the stomach and the intestines, the kidneys, and the testes. Testes are very rich in ACE2 receptors. So, which is why, if you look at the figures, it's likely to be a reason why a lot of men who get infected by COVID-19 tend to suffer a lot and tend to die more than women if you compare them. So if you've got balls, make sure that you protect them by making sure that you keep your mask on. You stick to the cough etiquette, you maintain the distance, and make sure that you do not catch COVID by washing your hands regularly. There's a tendency of men not to wash their hands, especially after urinating. Maybe we take it for granted, touching the impembe when we're urinating, and then suddenly you go and touch your nose and eyes and so on. That is not on. That is definitely not on. That needs to come to an end. Hygiene, basic hygiene. I grew up in rural areas in Mthatha. Kuko injoli, people who actually dish meat and so on. Then you find someone urinating, and then they come back and they come and dish meat as if nothing has happened. I mean, that has to come to an end, good people. We need to preach that. The unfortunate thing about the church is that you have got an audience almost every Sunday. You've got audience every Sunday. You need to get these messages across. And nalando yefaiduke zawujikeleza ithango lonke, osule lo muntu, abanye bosule nemilomo, and some wipe their noses and so on with the same cloth, and then it rotates the whole crawl. No, that has to come to an end. Nomkhabiliswano, if be it water and so on, we need to have disposable utensils now. The strategy is to change completely. You cannot drink from the same thing, because saliva can be a source of COVID-19. So it means when everything returns to normal, hygiene will actually take top priority. Thank you so much. Any other question? Any other question or comment? I don't think abantu they get thirsty in church. If they get thirsty, then we're going to provide some vinegar. Any further question? Yes, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at the foot of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'll find that there is sleep, there is food, there is shelter, there is sex. Those are basic needs. So you must look after the basic needs. Any further questions, further comments before I close the session? Do you recommend traditional medicine like base when it comes to traditional medicine? Fortunately, I grew up in rural areas. We respect them and for everything that they did in our journey. Before they took us to school and to investigate some of these things, they actually did a lot of good work for us. That is why we are as old as we are. So we cannot attack some of these things. The bad thing is that traditional medicine is a completely different route or different sphere in terms of what we do. Tina, we did Western medicine. So it means we study Panado. What are ingredients of Panado? How does it work? We call that mechanism of action and so on. and then we know that it has to go to receptors, then it can actually sort the pain. So if you speak traditional medicine, it needs to be studied and verified in terms of research. How does it work? And if it works, how does it interfere with the drugs that we're already taking? What does it do to your kidneys? What does it do to your heart? And how is it excreted from your body? Is it excreted in stool? Is it excreted in urine? So you need to know all those things because they are very important, because when you give someone a drug, you are also guarding against over accumulation of the drug in the body. Hence, you need to know how does it work and how does it go. We cannot be against anything, but all we want is verification and studies. And once you find that, let's say you find ikololomti, you find that a certain bark is working against a headache. For you to say that, no, let me make a simple example. Let's look at Retex. If you say Retex kills rats, science demands that out of 100 rats, you must come and say Retex kills rats because I gave Retex to 100 rats, and out of those 100 rats, 85 died, maybe. And then you took this Retex and gave to another batch of rats, and it produced the same result. So the majority of those rats died. Then you can come and write something down and say, Retex actually kills rats. That is the demand of science. It means it's something you do here, it can be done in the other corner and proved. So if you say umhlonyane works against COVID-19, you cannot just come and wake up and make that statement. That is not science. That is emotional thinking. Science demands that you do trials. You take people and say, I got 170 people who had COVID-19. They were this age and they had the following diseases and so on. We gave them umhlonyane for such and such a period. Then this is the report and outcomes. That is how science works. Otherwise, we will be consumed by all sorts of statements, just like garlic and ginger and all these things. So science is about research and proving facts that can be proven by another person. So nothing has been tested. We don't promote that. At the same time, I usually say to people, if you say to me, can I take Biko, can I take this thing? I say, you can take it as long as we know that it's something that's not gonna kill you. But what we're worried about traditional medicines, we must investigate and research them, because we do not know the impact these things will have on your kidneys, on your liver, because most drugs are metabolized in the liver. So we need to apply our minds and we need to guide you, because suddenly everyone is a doctor. We've got level 2 doctors now. Even people who dropped out, they happen to be doctors now, because once people are stranded, everything that sounds like a solution becomes a solution. That is the same thing we encountered with HIV. There were so many people who said to be curing HIV and everything. There were lots of solutions, because once the market is stranded, then people who have done market analysis, fortunately this is something I've done, people who have done market analysis, they start providing what the market needs, irrespective of being helpful or not. It's like the issue of the substances that are used to push underneath by women to clean themselves. They ask ourselves, why is it in the market then? No, market is not about how effective that thing is, but is consumer behavior. Market is serving consumers. So they just study consumer minds and provide what the markets need. If my colleague tested positive, he said, Peter, I missed that question, then it disappeared. There's a question I missed. I think I wanted to, let me see if I can get it. Any further comment or questions in the last 5 minutes? Come on, guilders, leaders. Especially now. I mean, if impembe zingahambe zivuthelwa, then we would be spreading a lot of COVID, noting that COVID stays in your saliva, in respiratory droplets and so on. Or vuthela impembe, even let's say you should actually be on guard, because that can spell danger. So it means even oral sex is not safe, guys. Oral sex is not safe. Kissing is not safe. Hugging is not safe. Sweating on each other is not safe. So you need a serious adjustment in terms of doing adult stuff. Noting that the Bible says we won't do sex until we get married. Any other question or comment? I'm trying to locate this question and see if I can get it.
Market is serving consumers, so they just start the consumer.
Any other question or comment? I'm gonna pick it up. Okay, now I'm fine. If my colleague, yeah, this is a question I was searching for. If my colleague tested positive in COVID-19, do I have to wait for symptoms to appear before I get tested? That's the question I was searching for. If my colleague tests positive for COVID-19, do I need to wait for symptoms to appear before I get tested? That is a very important question. The test that is done for COVID-19 is called PCR. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. This kind of test, in fact, the full name is RT-PCR, reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. That is a test that is done for COVID-19. This test relies on presence of viruses on the specimen. So it means viral load, the number of viruses in the specimen should be high for the test to be able to pick up the bug, because you're actually looking directly on the virus. Unlike the HIV test that we do, which is ELISA, which is actually testing for antibodies. COVID-19 test is done by checking for the virus directly. And having a symptom, it means as a doctor, I'll have high index of suspicion. By the time I send you for a test, I'm already convinced or I'm satisfied that it is likely to yield. Because if I do not have that high index of suspicion, the PCR can come out with a negative result because it relies on viral load, the presence of the virus, and also in numbers. So if your colleague tests positive and you do not have symptoms, we weigh the time that you spend with the colleague. Have you spent more than 15 minutes with your colleague in one space, in a car, in an office, without using what is called personal protective equipment? That is very important. So we do what is called risk assessment in screening. Then we check the symptoms already. So it's a combination of things before we advise you further. Hence, screening is very important. You can't just send everyone blindly for COVID-19 testing. You do screening not only on symptoms, but also on the proximity and the time spent with the colleague. Then, and also the working environment. If you're speaking about a nurse or a doctor who was doing a ward round and then was in contact with the patient and so on, so you do risk assessment in terms of the colleague, the proximity and so on, and the period of contact. Noting that the test may actually come back negative today because the viral load is low, and maybe in 2 days' time it can be positive. That is why PCR is not everything, especially if you look at the scientific terms that are used, specificity and sensitivity. So we rely on high index of suspicion in the basket before not only the test. No, we can be patient. We can be patient. We are not going to die. And classes will come back healthy. We'll be very healthy when we come back. Let us just make sure that we service ourselves now and just be patient, guys. Let us stay in prayer and fasting so that as is better. Just let's turn to page 37 of the Iculo Lethu. That is what we need now. Any other questions? I think I'm about to close the session now. In the absence of questions or any other comment. Any questions, guys? I said I'm an all-rounder. Hence, I gave you my credentials and I said you can ask me any kind of question. If I can't answer, then I'll tell you. But so far, I'm coping with the questions. Any further question before we close the session? Doc, chances on a chronic disease already, zingapi chances oba angayibetha corona. We've had so many people about chronic diseases. In fact, The fortunate thing about me is that I'm working in one of the areas that were mostly affected in PE, Kwadwesi, and a lot of people have managed to pull through with their chronic illnesses. So mental attitude, the way you take it, the disease itself, because some of these things, they start destroying us even before they destroy us. They destroy us mentally before they destroy us physically. So your mental attitude in facing COVID-19 once you get infected is very important. Stay positive. Listen to your doctor or whoever is in charge of your health, because you'll be in touch with that person on a daily basis. Take the advice, don't panic, and so on. Even if you've got chronic illness, make sure that chronic illness is being treated. HIV must be on treatment. Keep the viral load suppressed. Keep your CD count high. Sugar, if you are diabetic, keep your diabetes under control. Stick to your treatment. Stick to your diet. If you've got hypertension, stick to your treatment. Make sure that the virus will only, your immune system will only be dealing with the virus. The other things are being checked and under control. In case you are in space funeral where the number of people tested positive, it depends on your proximity with the people that tested positive. If you were close to someone who has tested COVID negative, the best thing to do is to isolate yourself, monitor yourself for symptoms, and then the moment you start having symptoms, then you start acting on it. Noting that even when you do the test and you are confirmed COVID positive, there is no treatment or no cure for COVID-19. We go back to the same thing. Go and isolate and quarantine yourself. We just monitor you. In case you struggle to breathe, then we start arranging admission for you. Otherwise, we monitor you every day. There is no one. It's not like now that you tested, we need to get a quick injection and whatever. No, there's no such. Doc, there's one thing that you guys can Google, which is called vaginal queefing. Vaginal queefing, it can destroy a lot of relationships and marriages if people are unaware of it. Vaginal queefing, I will leave it at that. It's a normal phenomenon. The noise that the vagina can make during the process of intercourse, it is something you need to be aware of. It's not something that cannot be overcome or is abnormal. It is something that is expected. It is science is very clear there. You must expect some sounds and sounds like that. That is called vaginal queefing. Just check that word and actually familiarize yourself with it. Let us not insult people over the noise and so on. Otherwise, we're going to destroy a lot of people's self-esteem and self-confidence, which is unnecessary. We are here to bring awareness on some of these things because we have seen them happening. We have seen people insulted and we've seen people being abused over some of these things. But I encourage women to do what is called Kegel exercise and squatting, especially after birth, making sure that you deal with the pelvic floor muscles and return yourself to normal. Inyongo nempembe zidibana njani? Zeziphi into azenza impembe bestrong ngaphandle kwamayeza? Inyongo, let me just get a little bit into this inyongo thing. Inyongo okanye lento kuthiwa ibile. Let us get this very properly. You get red blood cells. We've got red blood cells in your blood. When the red blood cells get old, they usually get old in about 4 months. That is 120 days. They get old. Old red blood cells, they go to the liver. Then they get destroyed in the liver. It's destruction because they are old enough, they've done their purpose. Once they get destroyed, there is waste that comes out of those red blood cells. Then that waste is taken to the gallbladder. In the gallbladder, it forms what is called bile. Bile is stored in the gallbladder. The gallbladder is just beneath the liver. So from the gallbladder, there are ducts that which actually convey the bile to your first part of the intestine. The first part of the intestine is called duodenum. Every time there is a fatty food that is coming across or passing through the duodenum, then for you to be able to deal with fat, there must be a little bit of bile added to that food. Otherwise, you won't be able to absorb fat. And then you will start passing stool that is loose. Uhambise, because amafuta, you cannot handle fat because there is no bile. But once there is bile, then your duodenum is able to absorb some of the fat because inyongo ikhona. Isuka phi? From the gallbladder. Gallbladder P next to the liver or just underneath the liver. That is the story of inyongo. So inyongo is something we need. It's a chemical we need to be able to deal with fat and absorb fat from our intestines. So if you take into hambisa or you drink some concoction for vomiting to induce vomiting or diarrhea, I don't see how you are reducing bile. I don't see how you are reducing bile because bile is up there next to the liver. And into hambisa will actually be working in your intestines and actually induce diarrhea or vomiting. If you were to have blockade of inyongo, let's say just below the duodenum, there is some blockage there after inyongo ingenile from the liver, then it would be a very concerning thing. We would actually send you to specialists to make sure that you are done scans and so on to see where is the source of the blockage. But as I'm sitting here, if I were to put a finger in my mouth and induce vomiting, the last part of my vomiters will actually come out green and bitter because it contains some of the mixed stuff from the duodenum, and it will come last because everything that I've just eaten recently will come out first. But at the end, the last one will come out with some green stuff because it's food that is already mixed with the bile from the gallbladder, not because and however. There is no way you can reduce the amount of bile that is there in the gallbladder by using some of these concoctions that you guys drink to induce vomiting and to induce diarrhea. No ways. Not because I'm against use of those things, but I've done physiology, I've done anatomy, I know what this, I mean, people should know where the gallbladder is, where gall is, when does the gall come in contact with the intestines. So xa usela into ohambisa or ucima, then you must know into yoba that doesn't get to your gall. Doc, are there any advantages or disadvantages of continuous using Adcodol? Yes, there are. Anything can cause addiction. Adcodol contains codeine. You can be addicted. Codeine is something that is funny. I mean, you are like someone who's using a drug. That is a drug. You can easily get addicted. So if you are using Adcodol on a continuous basis, refrain from that or try to wean yourself out of that with the assistance of a health professional so that you are not dependent. Even a sleeping pill for that matter. Let me take it further. If you use a sleeping pill, use it for 3 nights at most and then try to sleep on your own on the 4th night so that you are not dependent on the sleeping pill. Nendo hambisa, mhlawumbe you're constipated or you've got fecal impaction. If you're using something to induce diarrhea, don't use it for a prolonged period because you are actually making your intestines lazy. Then you'll be dependent. You will need to use lendo hambisa oko to induce your defecation. Once you use it, you will go and pass stool for maybe a day or so. Then after that, it will be quiet for a week. Then you need to induce it again. Then it means you are getting deeper and deeper, like someone who's using any other substance. Then that is a problem. We don't want people to be dependent on drugs. Even if you are using substance for erection, like umpesu, someone asked me about umpesu. If you are using any product to induce erection, which we use, because let us be frank about that, and people are tired. Men are tired. You are very fortunate to even get one run from a man these days because people are tired and stressed and they're using a whole lot of things. So if you are using some of those things, make sure you don't get dependent. Use it just to provoke yourself and make sure that blood is running. Then after that, wean yourself out of that substance, exercise and eat properly, and then start running your life. Cannabis or insango ayincedisi kwinkonzo? No. I don't think so. The problem with insango, it contains a chemical called cannabinol, which misleadingly can actually pump your confidence, especially at the start. For example, someone who's doing mathematics, they tend to be smart when they smoke dacha, especially at the start. But eventually, it will make you sluggish. That's the problem with drugs. When you are getting to the habit, when you are experimenting with the drug, it actually gives you exactly what you want. but eventually when we're getting deep into the substance, then it traps and destroys you. So dagga is definitely going to be a problem, and it cannot help you to get an erection, and it can even go and affect your fertility. Cannabis in Zango. I think I am done. Looking at the time now, I think I am done. I've covered most of the questions. That you guys asked. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you, especially the leadership of the Wesley Kids South Africa. And thank you for inviting me to the page and to this honorable platform to be addressing all of you. One thing I like about young leaders, they are open, those who are young at heart and who are young physically. They do not only absorb information, but this is information to be applied and shared amongst all of us. Knowledge is power through sharing. Thank you so much.